Gary Vaynerchuk, host of Wine Library TV, a.k.a. WLTV, and this is BBQ Central.
Yay! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you want to get in contact with the show or follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that stuff.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter. Before we get into that, for whatever reason, the update to this week's show, which is January 16th, did not.
Andrew, you are not the father.
It did not take for whatever reason. So you might be seeing on Facebook or YouTube that the date of the show is showing last week 1/9. But if you're seeing this right now, my ridiculously popped collar on my fleece sweatshirt because it's freezing cold down here in the basement in Cleveland. Rest assured, we are doing it live,
We'll do it live.
right here, right now on the 16th. Even though it says the 9th, trust me, it is the 16th, and we're doing it live. And a whole new set of guests. If you show up in 8 minutes from now and my first guest is Meathead, you'll know that I'm a liar, but I can assure you it's not Meathead. It's not a repeat live show here. It is June 6th. I wish it was June. It is January 16th, and we are live and ready to go. Joining the show for the first time, 14 past the hour and or 11 minutes from now. We've talked about it a little bit over the life of the show, but really never dug into the nuts and bolts of owning a barbecue supply restaurant. This guy happens to own a company called the Barbecue Supply Company out of Wisconsin. He's a longtime fan of the show. Happy to have him on. Mike Luce will join us. So if you're familiar with the Barbecue Supply Company out there in Wisconsin, is it Greendale? I guess I could take 1 second to become, yeah, I was right. Greendale, Wisconsin. Then you know Mike, you're probably a big fan of his and you like his products and all that stuff. But what if you were thinking about getting into it? As I told you before, there was a couple that had approached me down at the Hartville Hardware Grill Fest last year and said, we're going to be building a brick and mortar location just west of Cleveland, and maybe this would be a great idea to hook up and do the podumentary of 2024 on getting started right from jump. Well, it didn't work out too well for them. So we'll talk to Mike about what it was like getting started and how he's seen the ebbs and flows of business over the last handful of years and what he expects through this year, what's selling hot through his store, all that fun stuff. So Mike Luce, first-timer to the show shortly, and then after him, it is the third Tuesday of a month, and that brings in the 35 past the first hour segment, a visit from the creator of cookoutnews.com. Wes Wright joins us. if you're a grill manufacturer, maybe instead of going to all the other trade shows and whatever other shows, industry shows, conventions, there should only be one show that you're going to be looking to go to as years progress, and it's called CES, and it takes place in Vegas. There were a number of live fire things that were exposed and introduced. So CES, who knew CES would be the hot place to go to get your grill released? But there's no doubt, after seeing what happened last week and everything that was being introduced and shown on social media and covered by tech companies' social media, this could be the place that a lot of people want to go next year and years prior to that. That'll bring a close to the first hour. Mike Luce and Wes Wright. Second hour, first-timer to the show. You've seen him on television a bunch. Wild Game Kitchen is in season 3. Multiple-time James Beard Award winner and Emmy winner Andrew Zimmern will join the show for the first time. Excited for that. And then closing the show, this person has relinquished her normal 14 past the second hour segment, making her first quarterly appearance here in 2024, the creator of the Hardcore Carnivore brand of products and the creator of the namesake website, JessPriles.com. Jess Priles will join us. So big show for you here on the third Tuesday of January in 2024. Mike Luce, Wes Wright, first hour, and Andrew Zimmern, Jess Priles, second hour. Don't forget, you can follow me socially, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat, all at BBQ Central Show. And we say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook.com/BBQ Central Show. You can go to Twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. You can also watch on YouTube, which is YouTube.com/@BBQ Central Show. And we have a YouTube poll question of the week, which is this for all the sports fans, and we're asking all guests as well. Not everybody was included this during Super Wild Card Weekend. The biggest loser of Wild Card Weekend was the Miami Dolphins or the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles, and currently sitting in first place with 62% of the early vote. It's the Dallas Cowboys. Man, I'm torn. I am absolutely torn between who was the bigger failure. And I'm placing it on a lot of different indicators. My gut is telling me Dallas is the bigger flop because they absolutely got worked by a Green Bay team who is perhaps what experts think is a year or more than a year ahead of its time. A lot of good pieces, a lot of great young talent, obviously. And Dallas just getting smoked and at their home field. Look, the Browns aren't even part of this conversation. Steelers aren't part of this conversation. The Detroit Lions and the Rams, that was just a great shootout. I was happy to see the Lions, but I'm not surprised if either team would have lost, to be honest. But of these three, these are the biggest three where losses do affect things going forward. I'm going to lay out and say I agree with 11% of you. The Eagles are the biggest loser of Wild Card Weekend. Not only of the weekend. At one point in the season, and not early in the season, but late into the season, they were 10-1. Favored to go to the Super Bowl. Who's going to beat these guys? Even the Ravens were getting laughed at as a potential opponent of putting them down. And then they proceeded to lose 6 of their last 7 games? How do you do that? And Baker Mayfield make you look like a punk? That was tough to watch on many levels. So I'm no football expert, and this is not a sports show, but in my humble estimation, the Eagles are the bigger shit the bed of Super Wild Card Weekend. But Dallas continues to take it, and it's now a tie between the Dolphins and the Eagles, both at 18%. So we'll see how it goes through the rest of the show. Some feedback through past shows. Jamie in Utah. Greg, why do your parents, and he's using quotation marks, sound like they should be in the cast of Fiddler on the Roof? Don't cancel me. Regards, Jamie. No kidding. By the way, Matt Osman weighing in on the instant chat saying, did Greg get a new microphone? Good spot, Matt. Yeah. You do listen and see everything. Maybe I'm a little scared by that. Maybe not. Maybe I'm also complimented that you notice so much. Now, Matt, if you can pull where this mic came from, you might get designation as Superfan 1B. Nobody ever beats John Solberg. But you might get Superfan 1B if you can tell me where this microphone came from. How about that? There's your test for the show, Matt. We got Mike Luce ready to show up here and do this thing. Before we get to Mike, we'll talk to you about Pits and Spits. Yes. Are you tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? You know you are. It's time to step your game up and bring the ultimate flavor and cooker to the backyard barbecues. Pits and Spits charcoal grills offering the highest quality live fire cooking experience that you can get in the market today. Using either wood or charcoal, their solid fuel grills produce those classic flavors you're looking for when you have the time to fire up the grill and cook for family and friends. With a large adjustable fuel tray, you can raise and lower the fire to control and fine-tune the heat. This is their take on the very popular Santa Maria style grill. Check them out at this website, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show. And when you spell Pits and Spits, it's the double T on the Pits and Spits. As you're checking out, you can save $150 off of any charcoal grill that's for sale on their website. If you use the promo code Charcoal Central, all one word, Charcoal Central, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central, and then code Charcoal Central as you're checking out online, or if you want to call in and do the ordering that way. I'm sure they're happy to do that as well. Just make sure you're saving yourself $150 either online in the comments section or as you're talking to them in person as you're placing your order. Charcoal Central. That'll get you $150 off any charcoal grill that they sell. Use it and then tell me how you save. You'll love it. Mike Luce coming up. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You visit cookinpellets.com to check out what they offer, and then when you're ready to purchase, you can find the same great products at Amazon.com or Lowe's.com or Walmart.com, and great shipping rates to boot. How about that? As I mentioned in the open, gang, we talk a lot about different topics on the show, and from time to time we have talked about the barbecue supply store topic, most recently with Rick Barton of Texas Star Grill Store. But what does it really take to get something like this off the ground in a non-traditional barbecue location? My next guest is going to talk all about it. If you're in Greendale, Wisconsin, I recommend you stop by and check the place out. We welcome in the owner of the Barbecue Supply Company, first-timer to the show. It's Mike Luce. Hey, Mike.
Greg, what's going on, my man?
Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening. And before we jump into this, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that you know about. And we're asking everybody this: who was the biggest loser of Super Wildcard Weekend? Was it the Eagles? Was it the Cowboys? Or was it the Dolphins?
I mean, is it really a question? It seems like it should be an automatic Cowboys.
Really?
I mean, oh yeah. I mean, nobody expected our Green Bay Packers to come in and trounce them, and that's exactly what they did. Go Pack, go.
I was thinking, I don't disagree with that, but the size and the colossal collapse of the Philadelphia Eagles, to me, lend itself to, like, that was a huge exclamation crap on what ended up being a terrible 6 out of 7 crap games. I didn't see it coming. Could I see the Cowboys losing? No, but Cowboys are always different. I did not see the Eagles. Like, this is something the Browns would do. That's how bad it was. So I didn't see that coming. They're my pick.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what makes it so sweet when the Cowboys did it, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
We've gotten our socks kicked off by them a couple times throughout the years, and this year feels really good to have that not happen.
Nice to do the kicking,
yes,
finally,
sir.
No doubt. Excited to see how Green Bay does next round. Mike, before we talk about the store, what's the background on you, if anything, before opening up the supply store?
Yeah, I came in completely blind to opening up the shop here. I actually, turn of the century, started doing television and video production. So television commercials, series work, corporate work, and that landscape really changed in the last 20 years. So it was time to get out of it. I was kind of sick and tired of seeing hotel rooms all the time. So wanted something that, is more fun, passionate than, more business. So I told about 200 of my friends that they should open a store like this, and nobody did. So we took it upon ourselves to open it.
So this is a passion for you, live fire in general, and then the next logical step, getting out of the industry that you were in, was to, after 200 people say no, is to start the supply store yourself. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wanted to, like I said, I wanted a store like this to shop at. So selfishly, I think we opened it, but barbecue was one of those things, like growing up, like I never touched it, right? Didn't know anything about it. It was something that I could do a really deep dive into. And honestly, it's a wide, deep ocean, right? You're never going to have it all figured out. So learning more and figuring out more, it's like, well, there's a need for this, right? I can't be the only one. And opening up a shop just outside of Milwaukee it was the perfect place for us. Our customers have become friends, right? They're not just someone that come in and buy the stuff off the shelf and leave. Like, we'll have a conversation for 10, 15 minutes.
When do you officially open up for business?
So the business was started in December of 21, and then found the location, and then we opened April 9th of 22. So yeah, coming up on 3 years.
You open up right in the heart of COVID. I mean, 20, or at least you're game planning it there. So that had to have been, maybe ignorance is bliss. You don't know what it was like pre-pandemic, and you're going into it at, short of running a barbecue restaurant, in the beginning of the pandemic, that seemed like a bad thing, but people were figuring out ways to pivot to make a restaurant successful. If you were doing anything else in the live fighter industry, everything was flying off the shelf. So did you get a almost false sense of security? Like, hey, we're going to just kill it every day?
When we first opened, we did. And I think that has to do more with the excitement of people because we were the first, like that's where a lot of the buzz kind of grew from. But then we were really lucky to have friends be proud of us and want to tell their friends. And it kind of snowballed into something that, I don't know, maybe a little unnatural, but yeah, we're so grateful for everyone, because we can't do it, right? Nobody can do it themselves. There has to be some luck, and there has to be a whole lot of love from everybody, from the community, to make something succeed like this.
When you look at a store online, some have endless amounts of products. Some have a very limited amount of products. There's folks that are in between those two designations. As you're looking to get your store up and running, how do you decide on what stock to put in the store as you open?
That's a really good question. So there's a couple things that we look at, right? Number one, what is that brand doing to promote themselves, right? The world doesn't necessarily need more pork rubs. There's a trillion out there. They all have a cartoon caricature of a pig. So that's getting lost in the shuffle is pretty hard for any brand that's going to start up and start producing their own product. For us, we look at, what that company is doing to promote them, how we can partner up with them. And then we look at it from a consumer standpoint, right? What are they purchasing? What are they gravitating for? And from there, it's, we try to cater to everybody. So we sell a lot of, hardcore carnivore. Shout out to Jess, because she makes a great product, but she also has a great following.
Yep.
We do a lot with Meat Church and Killer Hogs just because they're staples and everyone knows them. Then we try to do a little bit deeper dive. What's the KCBS people using? What are the SCA people using? So then we try to, bring some stuff and have them taste it that, maybe they have tried, maybe they haven't.
When you're talking about getting a gauge from your potential consumers in the area, how many people are you able to even get some type of a survey from? And are you getting back stuff that you're like, yeah, of course, we were going to do that anyway? Or is it a lot of all over the board type stuff? And you said, well, that might be good for Timmy, but I don't know if the 200 other people are even going to have this on the radar or even going to want to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about our customers. They have no problem telling us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, what they want to see different. And we take all that feedback. And it's pretty easy. I mean, we'll look at the social numbers that a company's doing. Obviously, we'll taste it. That's first and foremost. And then we'll make a decision from there.
As you're tasting this stuff, like if you taste 20 rubs, are they definitively different 20 times over? Or are there just 2 or 3 of 20 that would stick out? And if they do stick out, are they more prone to be on your radar for an order?
Yes, they are. There's probably 2 or 3 of each kind of rub that we carry. We try to have a huge selection, if it's going to be a Cajun or if it's going to be a Tex-Mex, if it's going to be an all-purpose, then, we'll try to have 2 or 3 different ones for people to try just so they can compare them. But yeah, I mean, to have 50 different pork rubs, like it may be subtle differences, but not enough to carry everything.
What kind of a inventory number are you sitting on?
As far as rubs and sauces?
Yeah, like how much?
Different ones? I think we have about 200 rubs and about 100 different sauces.
What's that translate to in dollars?
I think we're sitting on probably 100,000.
Wow.
Roughly. Yeah.
When you started,
and that's.
Are you a self-funder or did you get a loan?
We were. No. We were self-funder. Yeah, we really put all of our chips on the table, right? So we took money of our 401k, we had some liquid, and then from there just kind of spent it all on inventory. And ever since then, we've been putting it back into the inventory, picking up new lines, especially of hardware. So yeah, it's a scary proposition. Luckily, we don't have kids that we're putting through college or anything like that. So we were able to kind of take this gamble.
Are you in an existing location or do you build from ground up?
No, we're in a kind of a strip mall area. So it's a little downtown community. We have our ice cream shop and our wine bar, and it's a gorgeous little area, man. If you haven't been to Greendale, you should check it out.
What have been some of the biggest learning moments for you that you would like to tell somebody about if they came up to you and said, Mike, we're thinking about doing this. What can you tell me?
I mean, I think you can overanalyze it to death, right? You can look at the numbers, but that's not going to tell the whole story. I think following your gut is going to be a big part of what you're trying to build. And then the thing that we've been really successful with is just putting our own personality into it, right? we're not going to be a Walmart with racks of shelving. We put in stuff that kind of reflects our personality as much as we can, and also taking inspiration from other shops, right? Skateboard shops, Ron John surf shop, stuff like that, where it's like that model can be applicable to what we're trying to do.
How's product availability these days for you to get? If you're going to put in an order, is it pretty quick coming back around, or are you running into supply issues?
We run into supply issues for sure. And that's one of the things that, if we get a product in and it's really good, if the supply chain isn't there and we need to put in an immediate reorder and we have to wait on it, it's not good for anybody, right? It's not good for us. Customers come back in. We look like jerks because we can't get it in on time. The people we're buying from, they're running the risk of us not putting in reorders, and it's happened before. There have been some really good products that we've gotten in that we've had to dump just because they didn't have their ducks in a row.
Are they telling you this up front? So they're coming in with a taster, you love it, put in an initial order, and they don't say, hey, Mike, by the way, you're going to need to give us some lead time if it is going gangbusters, because this isn't just readily available at a distribution center somewhere for you to reorder.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Like, I think everyone's so happy that the deal's actually getting done and they're on shelves that they forget, like, looking down the road, how does this look? If it does take off, are you positioned well that you can fulfill that? So yeah, no, we're taking as much of a chance as anybody else is.
It would be a good idea if somebody's looking to get onto your shelf to then be straightforward with you.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, transparency for anything is invaluable in our business. And honestly, we'll roll the dice with them. We're not the end all be all of anything. So if they want to use us as kind of a testing site, happy to do that. I will say, some of our best sellers are our local stuff. 43rd Parallel came out with a rub. They're here to help sell it, right? So shout out to those guys. They are friends of the shop that just happen to have a product on the shelf.
From a cooker standpoint, what are you carrying in the shop? And do you also run the same type of battle with supply, or is that different?
It's a little bit different. If it's higher end stuff, we carry pits and spits. That is kind of spotty getting in. They went through a distribution channel, and then that distribution channel cut off ties with, or however it worked. We got an email saying that our distributor is not going to be carrying them anymore. So that was kind of a shock. But something like Napoleon is always going to be through our distributor. Green Mountain Grills, we get directly from them, and they've been terrific to work with. Everything else, it's kind of brand by brand. If we're going to get it from a distributor or directly from them, it just kind of depends.
What sells the best in the shop pit-wise?
I mean, our first year, it was Green Mountain Grill ledges. They were flying off the shelf. I think everyone has a Green Mountain Grill right now. Last year, to my surprise, it was the Napoleon Prestige 500,
really,
which is a gas grill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. I never would have guessed it, but that is our top seller last year.
Do you think people dump on gas grills? I've been pro gas grill since I can remember, but do you think if you buy one, people secretly throw shade on you, like you're not some real barbecue or grilling guy?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, because I was one of those guys. One of those guys.
Yeah, that's your job, is to sell 100%. Those things. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so my problem when I first started is that I thought, I had blinders on, right? It was it was this and that's it, right? Unless you're doing live fire, then it's not cooking at all. If gas is cheating, you're not doing anything with it. Listen, I changed, right? My eyes are open. I definitely think there's a need for it. I don't think that, if it's not producing smoke, it's not cooking. There definitely is a change in that landscape. Gas grills they serve their purpose and not to be hated on.
Do you run into any weird issues with brands that you might carry who are trying to run a line between being both a direct-to-consumer seller, but they're also trying to build a robust dealer network. Some guys want to do one or the other, but there's an increasing number of companies that seem to want to do both.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. PK is one of them, to be quite honest. When we signed up for them, we picked them up because I love PK. I think their product is amazing. The problem is they run their direct-to-consumer sales so low that there isn't an opportunity for us to make any money on it. So there have been other stores like us, because we all talk, that have dropped that brand or will no longer carry them because we just can't compete with the people we're selling against. ThermoWorks is another one. And when I talked to them, they said, look, I understand what you're saying, but it's us first, you second.
So why bother trying to grow a dealer network? So that they can just, I mean, unless they're giving you like 6-month terms because you're going to need more time to move it, then why bother? I don't know what the benefit is.
The benefit for us is just carrying that brand, right? ThermoWorks is the best. Everyone, you're taken more seriously if that's what's on your shelf, right?
Yeah, but certainly today's consumer is what, 1 billion more times educated on being able to access the same product over 300 different places on the internet and then on the company's website itself, and they come back and say, Mike, you're $10 higher, you're $15 higher, including shipping, than all these different places. And you're like, well, that's just the way it is.
No, we try to explain it, right? But we understand that their dollar is just as important to them as our dollar is to us. So if they need to go and get their stuff somewhere else because they're saving a couple bucks, I totally understand that. If they want to come into our shop and support the shop because we are a store and we're going to be a place that they can come in the next time when they have questions, that's our value add to any customer, right? That's being able to taste something, even if it's something unique or different, or they want to ask our opinion how it, presents on a rack of ribs. We'll give them that knowledge. That's not something that they're going to go out and Google and say, does this pair well with this sauce? We've done, or we'll let them taste it and say, you tell us. Is it spicy to you? You tell me.
From a promotional standpoint, how easy is it to get a big name producer of rub to come into Greendale and hang out for a weekend and try and move some product for you?
It's kind of tough. It's kind of tough. We're isolated here. We're not the only ones in the Midwest that, a lot of these big producers are, Texas, Mississippi, Florida. To get them to come up here and really, peddle their wares and connect with our customers, almost impossible. I would love it. I would love to have Jess Prowse come up here and hang out with us and move some stuff, but that's kind of up to her.
So what is that like? Let's say you wanted to have me come up and do a live show out of the shop on a Tuesday night. Like you pay for my travel and do all this stuff, or is it up to me or the talent that you want to have come in to get their way up to you, and then you'll spring for a hotel room, or like how does that setup work, or does it depend?
It really depends. I mean, we were nice enough, or Meathead was nice enough to come up here and do some presentation stuff at the shop. And he did it for nothing, which I loved. Of course I loved it.
Yeah,
I didn't
rule number 3 of the show, right?
But I think for him, he's connecting with people. And if and when he comes out with his new book, those people that he met are going to be the first ones in line to buy that book. So it's advantageous for both parties.
Yeah. What's selling best in the store right now?
Rio Valley Blanco is one of our hottest sellers.
Like Fred Robles,
a salt
Rio
pepper
Valley?
I don't know. I don't know. Now you're putting me on the spot. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate that.
Oh, I'm sorry. You own the shop. I only know Rio Valley meats from like Fred Robles in Texas. So that's the only reason.
Yeah,
struck
I think it is the same one. So Rio Valley Blanco is their salt, pepper, garlic mixture, and it is so good.
Wow.
It's so good. Two Gringos Chupacabra out of San Antonio. We sell a lot of their originals. And of course, Meat Church, Killer Hogs, and Hardcore are some of we move a lot of those products.
Anything coming up promotion-wise that you want to mention to us before I let you go?
Not yet. We got some stuff in the works. I think we're always going to be the shop that has the rubs and sauces and the grills and smokers, right? But I think we're going to try to expand beyond that to give people an opportunity to maybe incorporate some offerings into their barbecue that isn't that. And I can't really say much more than that. But yeah, the goal has always been to be more of a lifestyle brand than just a store, right? And I think the stuff we're going to do in the future is we're moving towards that.
Well, he's teased us with a feather, which I certainly love. I always have a way of getting a question to a guest that they can't answer, and we've hit that with first-timer Mike Luce. If you are in Greendale, Wisconsin, go on over to the Barbecue Supply Company. You can check them out online, bbqsc.com. You can follow them on the Instagrams, barbecue, which is BARBEQUE_supply_company, and see what they're up to there. Mike, really appreciate the conversation here tonight, and we'll do it again soon.
I appreciate it, Greg, man. Stay good.
You got it. Go Pack Go, as they say. He says Dallas was the biggest loser. I mean, that's hard to argue. That was a pretty bad loser. Wes Wright's ready to go. Again, the website for Mike, if you're just tuning in, bbqsc.com, bbqsc.com, and then Instagram is barbecue with a Q, BARBEQUE_supply_company. Great story there. Self-funded. You know what it takes to start a barbecue supply store? Brass balls. Anybody name that movie? What do we love about ceramic cookers? Well, if you're like me and it's 7 degrees outside, you love the fact that when the ceramics get hot, it becomes an incredibly fuel-efficient cooker and becomes widely unaffected unless you have the intake pointed directly where the wind is getting blown into. But otherwise, it doesn't know the difference between 0, -10, or 90. Humid cooking environment, which we love. You don't have to add any water pans or anything like that. 60 different ways to cook on this Primo. It's an oval shape. You can get a round one. We recommend the oval. And the oval allows you to do the true 2-zone cooking. So you can push all the coals over to the left or the right-hand side. You can then, if you want, install a deflector plate in addition. And the grill grate goes on it. You can put the meat over now the deflected direct heat or indirect heat. Or you can put it all the way over on the other side where there's no coals at all, giving it that nice true indirect cooking. 2-zone cooking, if you will. Only sold through dealers, so find one near you by visiting the website primogrill.com and then hit up the Find Dealer locator and then visit it in person. Fall in love with these ceramic oval that fits best in your life and your budget. But each and every week I'm telling you to go and get the XL. Remember, nobody has ever regretted getting big. They have only regretted buying too small. PrimoGrill.com. We're back with Wes Wright right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Thanks to Mike Luce for joining us last segment. John Husted in the instant chat said he's been to Mike's store twice, and it's a great place, and he's a great guy. What? This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard 2 and the Fireboard 2 Drive and Spark and the Beacon. You can connect up to 6 different temperature probes simultaneously through Wi-Fi or through cloud-based monitoring, Bluetooths. So head on over to fireboard.com and see exactly what they have to offer, and you will not be disappointed. Fireboard doing it right, no doubt about it. My next guest is the creator of CookoutNews.com's website and the third Tuesday of the month regular guest. Here to talk about the latest in the live fire industry is none other than our pal Wes Wright. Wes, before we get into it this evening, we have a YouTube poll question of the week, of course, which is this. Who was the bigger loser over Super Wildcard Weekend, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, or the Eagles?
I'm going to go Cowboys. I watched all the games. But
Mike Luce said that the Cowboys were biggest losers. Well, why in your estimation?
I think they came in with a ton of hype where like the Eagles kind of limped in, I felt like, into the playoffs, and then the Cowboys just were getting lit up. I watched it, and Green Bay was just busting off big yardage play after big yardage play.
I went with the Eagles because it was a totality of collapse. As I was telling Mike, it seems like this is something that the Browns would have done in years past, get to 10-1 and then lose 6 out of their last 7, bounce from the playoffs early. It felt like it happens every year, but we don't even make it to the playoffs every year. So getting there this year, nice for the Browns, but I don't chalk them up as being a major disaster. And happy to see the Detroit Lions skate through there very closely against the Rams. That was a great game. I assume you're a Lions fan, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's funny, too, with the Eagles fans that want to fire their coach when they went to the Super Bowl last year. And as a Lions fan, we'd like erect a statue if we ever even went to
What
the Super
have you
Bowl.
done for me lately is what we say in the NFL. What? Come on. We hit on it last month very briefly, but I am shocked to see how many grill makers, companies, brands launched at the CES last week. Items that I didn't see coming, things that everybody should have as an alert to go find out more about. It seems to be the place to bring new stuff to the market. CES going forward, true or false, is going to be the place all grill and barbecue pit makers should be unveiling their new stuff every year.
I mean, it generated a ton of press for them. That's for sure. So I saw tons of, especially Weber articles. I'll have to wait and see if it's a trend, if it's just a 1-year thing, because I had no idea leading up that it was going to be so many grills there. But I mean, it's the show for grill releases. I don't think any other show is going to have anything like that.
I feel like we should have been there last week.
Yeah, I had one company ask if I was going, and I'm like, no, regretfully, I'm not. It just wasn't, usually a grill thing. So, but yeah, I wish I was there.
What really drove it home for me is I'm watching some Toolbox from Engadget covering all the Weber releases and the AI grill and all this other stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, who is this guy? He has no idea what he's talking about, and he has full access to all this stuff that I never would have thought would be being unveiled there at a consumer electronics show. But it does reaffirm, somebody made a statement years ago on the show about how hardware companies are not, in the live fire industry, are now trying to intrinsically become software companies. I didn't really think too much of it, but maybe 3 or 4 years later, here we are. These are companies that never you would have associated with technology, and they're bringing their new products to a consumer electronics show.
Yeah, I saw lots of videos and pictures of like Weber's launch where they had just random people from, tech media there that were exclaiming things about the grills, and I'm like, that's just not true. I'm just reading it. I'm like, that's just not true. Other grills have done this or that, or it's just different. But yeah, that I completely agree with you. And that's part of why I even launched my website is I saw more and more intersection with tech where I was like, okay, there's going to be a lot more news than just, slow hardware releases like, there were in the past. With software, it moves a lot quicker, and it's there's more information about it. And that's one of the reasons I started my website, actually.
Let's start with the biggest revealer as far as number of products that at least I saw, which is Weber. And we haven't really talked about Weber in a number of months, or it's been pretty ho-hum. A slew of new products released. The first one is the sear wood. What do you like?
I really like that pellet grill, actually. And first off, I want to say that we talked about like every upcoming Weber release almost on your show over the past like 8 months. So I just want to say we nailed that.
Yeah.
But I like the searwood, and it starts with the price. I was shocked by how low that price is. I want to say it's $900 for the 600 and maybe 1,200 or 11.
I was going to say, I don't think anything was over $1,200 for the big.
Yeah.
So.
And I bought my like Traeger Pro 575, I don't know, 3 years ago for $800. So a brand new Weber with, up to date features for $100 more than that. I'm sure that Traeger's probably sweating that for when they release their updated model. But I really like that grill a lot. I haven't quite figured out how they're doing what they say they're doing, so I'm eager to see more. They talk about having full grate sear capabilities for a sear zone. I want to see that. They say it has more smoke. I think touchscreens are cool. I like that kind of it doesn't have it to keep the price down though, because it's that's a big expense. Also having a rotisserie is really cool. Having a griddle that, all their Weber crafted stuff that's really integrated as opposed to just something you slap on top, I think is really cool. There a lot of pellet grills to me, you try one, you kind of tried them all, but that one I actually really like and would love to try it out.
So I have a couple of follow-up questions in regards to the sear wood. As you mentioned, great price points, and I agreed. Great features. Do you think Weber's making a concerted play here to buy back some of that ill will that was created during the smoke fire era?
I think they definitely wanted to make a splash into that market and capture some of that share that they lost to Traeger, because their previous pellet grill kind of wasn't really a thing. I never saw it around, and with these features and this price point, that's something people are going to buy.
This would technically be the second pellet-fired griddle to hit the market. There was RecTech a number of months ago, tried to line up an interview with them that never materialized with their woodstone or soapstone or whatever the hell they called it. And then you have now this sear wood, which I'm guessing is you take some of the guts of this traditional sear wood out, and then you drop this griddle in, and now you have a pellet-fired griddle. Is that how you understand it as well?
That's my guess. I think whatever. So I said this in my article, and it's just a pure guess, but I think what they're doing for the sear zone is they're taking, there's a heat deflector over the fire pot. They're probably angling that up, is my guess. So maybe it's directly reflecting right into your grill grate, is my guess. I know when unlike Pit Boss grills, they have that like little slider so you can get direct access to the fire pot, which is always kind of gimmicky. But what I did, I've taken a piece of a cast iron, like a cast iron griddle, just a little one, putting it direct over that, and it gets 75 degrees hotter than the max temp in the grill normally. So they're doing something. My guess is to leverage that technology. But yeah, it is the second to that RecTech. It's nice if you want to buy one grill and you can have a griddle attachment. That's cool. I don't think anyone's going to buy it just for that. Mm-hmm. Just like the RecTech, you're going to end up with like one zone cooking that, pellets just, I don't think are the best way to do it, but I think it's a cool feature as an add-on.
Not the best way, and certainly not the most inexpensive way to fire up a griddle, and it's not going to be very efficient either. I'll be interested to see how that tracks. They also introduced a new freestanding griddle called the Slate. So what makes this one different?
Yeah, to me, this, you know, they came out with a griddle last year, but it was kind of one of their gas grill bodies with a griddle top.
Yeah.
To me, this looked more like a full design of a griddle that was intended to be a griddle. It has a pre-seasoned griddle plate, so they say you can use it right out of the box and you don't have to keep seasoning it every time. And it has, you know, a pretty nice look to it, and it has a hinge top that looks nice. The whole thing looks pretty sleek. It's priced like a premium griddle, though. I think the smaller one is like 736 inch. I want to say it gets up to 1,000.
Oh wow. So we're in Traeger territory. On the
Yeah,
move.
that premium. Yeah, the premium griddle segment there.
I think this is the first one that's got the pre-seasoned griddle grate or griddle plate, as they call it. Now, there are other ones that are non-stick. I think Pit Boss has some kind of a non-stick griddle plate, but this is pre-seasoned. Do you think this will be now something that other companies will piggyback on, or they'll track to see if it's really as good as they say it is, and then they'll look to install? Because it's a very small kvetch from people that are getting griddles, but if people could eliminate that step in the whole griddle seasoning process, I'm sure they would love to do that if it works.
Yeah, if it works, I think that's the way to go over you know, a non-stick surface, because the biggest hassle with griddles is just upkeep and cleaning, you know. So if you can solve those, you know, you're part of the way there. And with, you know, I've tried the Pit Boss with the non-stick. I prefer, you know, it's the cleaning's way easier. It works great. Don't get me wrong. I just worry about that I'm going to like screw up the surface all the time. You
Yeah.
know, that's my only concern. And, you know, I can be a little bit rough with a griddle. So and plus I think you get a little bit of better sear too, not on a nonstick surface. But, yeah, so if it's one that's pre-seasoned and you don't have to worry about it, that's definitely a good selling feature.
The last one that I wanted to talk about, as far as Weber is concerned, is the Summit Smart Gas Grill release. Did I hear right that the starting price tag on this thing was $3,800?
I think that's right. I saw
Wow.
one video from a tech publication that they said for like I'm guessing they're talking about like the smart version with the
Yeah.
infrared burner.
Yeah.
They said it's going to be just under $5,000, and I'm like, you know, that's the exact opposite of the sear wood. You know, if I'm spending $5,000 on a gas grill, I'm going to not like a mainstream brand. I'm going to like an outdoor kitchen brand that's, you know, thick stainless and all that. So $5,000 is pretty crazy to me.
Yeah, I'm buying a Pits and Spits gas grill when they come out with
Yeah.
theirs. If we're going to be spending $5,000, no doubt. The other thing that was making all sorts of news, and it was originally introduced under a different name during a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign. I think it was the Arden Smoker, but now it is morphed into the GE Profile Indoor Smoker. My unofficially official correspondent out of Colorado got it as an Arden Smoker and has raved all along on it. So what do you know about the GE Profile Indoor Smoker?
Yeah, I think it's pretty neat. I would love to try one of those out too. It sits on your kitchen counter, and it, you know, runs off pellets that when they're extinguished, they go into like a water bath. So it prevents, you know, from being a fire hazard or from smoke. And then almost like an industrial kitchen, it scrubs out the smoke out that leaves the indoor cooker, so you can create barbecue in your kitchen. You know, it can only, you have to fit like a rack of ribs. You have to cut them in half. They say it fits a brisket, and I'm guessing, you know, even
Small
half a
flat,
packer would
maybe.
be tight. Yeah. I'm curious to see how that works, but yeah, it looks neat as a way, you know, with our amazing weather right now in the Midwest. It's something I wouldn't mind trying.
I don't think there's any doubt that there's probably room for this concept. There's a guy here locally that has a radio show on the biggest station in Cleveland that asked me about it when I had reached out to you last week, if you knew anything about it. So, you know, this is a guy who's an avid outdoor cook, and he's looking to get something inside specifically for when the weather takes a turn like it is right now. Price tag wise, we looking like at $1,000 or something like that?
Yep, $1,000. I think $9.99. So it's, you know, it's not cheap, but it's not really that expensive when you look at, what pellet grills are at anyways. And I think it's neat too, because it's a way for more people to, start cooking barbecue possibly that couldn't before, or, never really made the plunge. So anything that gets people cooking, I think is awesome.
Agree or disagree? Success for this product will be limited due to its confiscation of available counter space.
Yeah, I want to see what it looks like on a kitchen counter, because I can't quite visualize, how big that is. Weighs 40 pounds, I want to say. So it's not terribly light to move out of the way. But yeah, that it's, just taking up permanent kitchen space like that, it will be tough, and you'll need somewhere to store it and move it around.
This is my other concern. Let's say you've gotten over that mental hurdle, or maybe you have counter space at a premium like I got, and you're committing up front that it's going to be a back and forth thing. My thought, or at least the thing that I fall victim to the most, and I'm not trying to put this on everybody else because I'm sure everybody's better than me. If someone puts it away, for me, out of sight, out of mind. So now I've spent $1,000 on this indoor cooker, and it's not that I don't want to go down to the basement and lug 50 pounds back up and use it. I'll just forget about it. You think that's a potential issue?
Yeah, I think any extra setup you have to do, I know maybe I'm just lazy, but I'm kind of the same way. If it's not readily accessible, I'm like, screw it, I'm going to do something else. So I would agree with that too. Yeah.
The one thing that I wanted to ask your opinion on the way out is it's not huge news yet. I saw a bunch of tech people covering it because it really seemed to be up their alley with all the AI stuff that it's supposed to be using. Is the Sear Grills Perfecta. It's got 2 infrared burners on either side. It's got a cooking grid that you put into the middle of it. And it's saying that it'll cook a steak in a minute and a half. They have this really gimmicky promo video showing a traditional gas grill versus the Sear grill. And, everybody's eating well in advance before the guy on the gas grill even flips a steak for the first time. Do you know anything about it? And on a scale of 1 to 10 on the gimmick meter, 0 being no gimmick, 10 being the gimmickiest, where does it rate for you?
Yeah, I think it's a 9 or a 10. It's for me, it's $3,500, right? Are you going to buy?
Is it $3,500?
Yeah, literally, it's $3,500.
You can buy 2 Sear woods for $3,500, maybe 3.
Yeah. So that's, to me, like, you're going to buy that so you can cook like 1, maybe 2 steaks at a time, and you just eat that much steak. But also too, it's like when I read stuff about the new Weber Summit, where like, this is the first ever infrared burner on a grill, and I'm like, no, it's not. There's been side infrared burners and stuff like that. And to me, that's the thing. You can buy a gas grill. Napoleon makes one for, I think, $900 with a infrared side burner, and gets to 1,600 degrees. So I would rather have a whole grill with a burner than just a steak cooking machine.
We're going to track that. I'm trying to get one of the creators of that grill on the show. He seems to be down for it. We're going to have to contend with a little time zone difference because they're based out of the UK, but we'll see if we can't work that out. This is Wes Wright. You can find him at cookoutnews.com. Make sure you're visiting there frequently every week so you can keep up with what's changing and new in the industry. Wes, always appreciate the time, and we'll see you in February.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Greg.
You got it. Wes Wright, always bringing it strong, as he does each and every time. I'm going to attempt to get back on the clock here, a little long with Mike, and then I didn't want to cut Wes short. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
We do thank Wes Wright for joining us, cookoutnews.com, his website, and you can also check him out on social media. Cookout News on all the platforms, see what he's up to. If you missed the first hour, we're podcasting, don't worry about it. Refresh your libations, and we'll be back for hour number 2, if you can believe it. Stick around, we'll be right back.
This is Meat Mitch, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Sean Bono. It's all about the Sean Bono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet or wiener.
But listen, Liberty, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show, where we talk about only the most high-level important things that are going on within this industry that we call live fire. If you missed the first hour, shame on you. We had first-time guest to the show and the owner of the Barbecue Supply Company, Mike Luce, from Greendale, Wisconsin. In fact, somebody was in the chat who's been to his place. And then we had Wes Wright in his normal spot, third Tuesday, 35 past the first hour. We talked about all the Weber stuff that was released at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas last week and what was good and what wasn't. We both agreed Searwood has all the potential that the smoke fire should have had but blew. We seemed indifferent on the griddle, seemed a little pricey, and then the price didn't slow down once we got into the Summit Smart Gas Grill starting at $3,800. In fact, Wes mentioned that there was a model out there that wasn't even the high end for 5Gs. So we thought that was a little high for what Weber's trying to achieve. We also talked about the indoor smoker from GE getting a lot of praise. And we both chuckled at this point at the Sear Grill Perfecta, which is using AI technology where you just have to push buttons and then it takes over all of the cooking and making sure everything's done that way. So if you missed the first hour, you will get in podcast tomorrow. Second hour on Thursday. We'll tell you about Friday here in just 1 second. Still to come on the show this evening, Andrew, Andrew Zimmern and Jess Pryles. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of the video streaming platforms. You can go to facebook.com/BBQ Central Show. You can go to twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. You can also go to youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where you will also find a robust chat and a new weekly poll. And we're asking everybody this. Wow. Through Wild Card Weekend, which of the three was the biggest loser? Dolphins, Dallas, or Eagles? And it is quickly becoming a boat race. It's been picked by every guest on here but me. Dallas is starting to run away with it at 73%. Dolphins coming in at second at 18%. Anybody think that the Dolphins, that was a shock? They play in Miami. It's routinely 70 and 80 degrees down there. And they traveled to Kansas City where the ambient temperature was -7. Warm teams are not going to play well, no matter the talent. And I'm not trying to dump on the Dolphins. By the way, when you say I'm not trying to, that means you're going to. So let me rephrase this. I'm going to dump on the Dolphins and say their quarterback, while athletic and fairly consistent, he's kind of shrimpy. I'm not shocked that the Chiefs move on. That's what they do in the postseason. They find a way to win, and they move on, and it was really cold, and the team they were playing is not used to 7 below 0. I don't think the Chiefs are that used to 7 below 0, but fully more capable and used to that kind of a weather than you're getting with the Dolphins. I'm still maintaining the Eagles are the biggest flop. I thought for sure they were going to show up on Sunday or last night. Was that last night? And win one before they made a second round exit. But no, shame on me. Losers of 6 out of 7, and shocking at that. So we'll track it through the rest of the show. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less, this coming Friday, episode 317, taking you back to January 19th of 2010. I mentioned it before a couple weeks ago. You will notice that the Fridays of shows past, am I saying that right? That the best moments of shows past that are being posted this Friday, the Friday before, all match up with their original air dates. So we're taking you back to January 19th, 2010, but this coming Friday is January 19th, 2024. Wow. So being featured this week are the co-founders of the officially unofficial band of the Barbecue Central show, 3 Years Hollow. Yes. In fact, do I have some? Do I have some? No, I don't. I have me. Do I? DOA. No, that's dead or alive. Oh. Bringing the show to a screeching halt because I thought I had a pull and I did not. The officially unofficial show, 3 Years Hollow. Lead singer Jose Urquiza, and then, not anymore, lead guitarist Tony Reeves joined me. For the very first time, we talked about their journey into music, who inspired them, and what it was like trying to break into the music industry at that time back in 2010. Certainly looks a lot different 14 years removed. You might recall, a little over a year ago, Jose actually sat in as a guest pro judge for what ended up being the final season of Barbecue Central show's American Idol. And we say final season because I won that season. And I maintained that the season that I win it is also the season that that whole bit dies. So I beat Rusty handily. And so Barbecue Central show's American Idol died. This was a very fun interview to do. And listening back to it a week or so ago, it was great to hear it again. And also, it's fun to get outside the box of normal conversation of barbecue and grilling and get some perspective on other industries. It's rare that you can really do that. And especially in an industry that a lot of us have dreamed of doing at one point in our life. Who wouldn't want to be a rock star? These guys are living the rock star lifestyle. By the way, still living what has turned into a very successful rock star life and career for the folks that remain in 3 Years Hollow. They're buddies with all sorts of big names. I still use 3 Year Hollow music to this day. I'm a huge fan of all their music. If you are into Seven Dust and Breaking Ben and Chevelle, this type of music, but in their own voice, in their own way, I suggest giving them a search on Spotify. Cracks is my favorite album. I can put it on and listen to it start to finish. But also Ascension, I think, was their first one. It's got Wasted and Suffer and all bunch of great songs. Right up my alley. So if that's your type of music scene, you're not familiar with 3 Years Hollow, I recommend giving them a search. They're very good. You won't be disappointed. If you want to hear a guest or a segment again on the show you think has been lost in the archives, write John, the executive producer of the show, an email and let him know what you would like to hear. JON@thebbqcentralshow.com is the email address. Don't mind me peering around. There's a cat around these general parts. I'm trying to figure out what the hell he's up to. At some point, he's going to be on this desk. I know it. I'm going to lose my mind. JON@thebbqcentralshow.com. Now, you're asking yourself, what could I possibly be poised to talk about for the next minute and a half?
Here comes the money. Here comes the money.
Yes. The gift that keeps on giving. All right. We said it already. It's the new Memphis Barbecue Festival. However, there's been some breaking news
A Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
Greg Rempe reporting from the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio, the city breaking the most live-fire breaking news across the country, nay, the globe. And we finally have a name. If you don't follow me on social, it's new to you. The new name, the given name of this new event is called Smoke Slam. With the tagline, the world's ultimate barbecue showdown, 3-day event will take place from May 16th through the 18th this year, Tom Lee Park, and attracting over 100 interested teams. I'm not sure exactly how many of those teams have signed up. Melzy Wilson, somebody I've been trying to get on the show to also talk about this stuff, a lifelong supporter of competition barbecue, a respected community leader with over 20 years in the sport, has joined the Smoke Slam steering committee to help the organizing event. And she's the one that basically brokered the Memphis Barbecue Network sanctioning partnership that's happening. Also, the event carries a purse that we know, $250,000, largest in pork barbecue competition history. You will also get a golden ticket if you win one of those categories, because guess who else has jumped in? The World Food Championships. Judging will be blind and on-site for the preliminaries. Categories include whole hog, ribs, pulled pork, with prizes awarded across 5 places per category, totaling 150 G's in prize money. 7 categories of dessert, bacon, duck, poultry, beef, seafood, and wings have been added. Total prize purse of $40,000 in 5 places across those categories. If you win what I'll call those ancillaries, you also get a golden ticket to the World Food Championships this year. Small prizes to the value of $10,000 will also be awarded. So plenty of money being slung around. You do have the opportunity to get applications. They go up and online this week. Not sure exactly when. And Smoke Slam's mission will be to produce an inclusive event that enhances the rich tradition of the barbecue in Memphis, the unique river setting, and the city's musical heritage. By the way, if you were looking for some type of entry fee cost, it's somewhere between $22,000 for a basic space, $3,500 for a large booth, including entrance fee, some electrical access, and ablutions. Not sure exactly what ablutions are, but that fee seems to be considerably less. Now, I don't know if you can then build out your space from there, if that's going to incur more money, what have you, but this is the latest and greatest information that we have from something that they're calling Smoke Slam, the world's ultimate barbecue showdown. So if you are interested in taking part in that first-year event, and believe me, there was plenty of shit-slinging going on, talking about this event smells, something's wrong, where's this money coming from? Look, if people have a lot of money, it's my understanding that they can throw their money around. And I can't name names specifically, but people that seem to know what they're talking about as it relates to Smoke Slam. Everybody that's involved in this is rich to the tune of billions. So there does appear to be extra money to throw around, discretionary income to throw around at this event. So whether you think it stinks or not, whether you think they're trying to put Memphis and May out of business or not is irrelevant. It's happening. And as I said last week, it's going to take place 1 year and die because they got in way over their head, but they appear to know what they're doing in running festivals. I don't know if they know how to run a barbecue festival, but the people they're bringing in seem to. I'm going to let it happen. And then we're going to make a decision after Smoke Slam in Memphis in May and see where we go from there. That's what I can tell you. Just Sorry. Before we get to the next guest, backyard version of a famed pit built by who? Aaron Franklin, is now available for your backyard. That's right. Franklin Barbecue Pits now building backyard cookers for the barbecue purist that wants to take their craft to the next level. What you have is a deeply thought out, refined version of the old propane style pit that Aaron uses in his Franklin Barbecue restaurant. Stylistically, it reflects the kind of bare bones industrial handmade aesthetic that he loves, as in the patina and the way the build shows you the welds and the craftsmanship. Now, the schematics of a Texas off-style barbecue pit, relatively simple, even if the things happening inside the cooking chamber are complicated dynamics that include physics and chemistry. Very few moving parts here. As we know, numerous and massive differences divide this Franklin pit from the average barbecue smoker sold at the big box store. For one, much of the challenge of building these pits comes with the thickness and the heaviness of the material. Cheap smokers are made from thin metal. Not only does cheap metal tend to warp and crack when sustaining the kind of heat you need to make great briskets and pork, especially on cold days like today, the thinness of the metal just sheds the heat, struggles to maintain heat. That gets you frustrated. And all of a sudden, that cheap offset pit becomes a planter, or you toss it out. Franklin's pits, made with heavy-gauge steel, American-made steel. The thickness guarantees professional-grade heat retention. You can find one at a certified dealer near you. Go to franklinbbqpits.com, find the dealer near you. Now, if there isn't a dealer near you, you can still get one. If you want to buy one, you can do it right online. They'll ship it right to the bottom of your driveway. franklinbbqpit.com. Now, if you're a fan of the show and you have a barbecue supply store, you want to become a Franklin dealer, you can do that too. Go to the same website, fill out their dealer paperwork, and then send it into Matt Gase. He can help you out. FranklinBBQPits.com is the place to go. Check them out for their info. Check them out for the videos. Find a local dealer near you if you have one, and then go from there. We'll be back right after this. Stick around.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, currently available in 3 sizes. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or professional. It's a cooker you want to add to the arsenal, take with you on cook-offs, or add to the backyard. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. My next guest can be found doing Wild Game Kitchen. Andrew Zimmern joins us on the show. Oh, what? Wait a second. Let me go to line 7. Andrew. Well, we know what the hang-up sound means, don't we? Who's that? Well, looky here. It's our pal Jess Pryles walking right through that door. Hey, what's happening?
How about that?
I appreciate
you know. I appreciate you.
Something's different.
Tell me it's working.
What's going on?
Do you want to know what it is?
The microphone is not working. The microphone isn't working. It's not. I swear.
Are you serious?
Yes. Tap on it. No.
I can hear it. Shut up.
It's not.
Listen, here's the thing. I've got a new iMac. Everything seems to be working.
Yes.
Hang on a second.
All right.
Input, microphone. No, it's happening. This is fucked.
Wait, is it turned on?
Yes, it's fucking turned on. What are you talking about?
Wow.
Look. On.
I believe you. Do me a small favor and click on that gear cog that you see on the screen when you float the mouse all the way over to the right.
Yep.
And then hit reconnect.
Mark, hang on.
Yeah.
How about this? How's this? Is it happening?
No.
This is
Yes,
crazy.
yes, that works.
Now,
Yeah. Hey, how about this? How about this?
What?
From now on, you do that reconnect thing before I come to you, and then I save you a bunch of consternation. Because it doesn't, like, I know you're going to get there. I'm not worried about it. But I don't want you to feel like I'm just
I thought that
fucking
everyone
with you.
was. I just thought that everyone was like really enjoying our banter about
course.
microphone issues.
Yes, everybody.
That's why they tune in, right?
Yes, everybody loves the live issues that we contend with. As I always say, the podcast listener will never know about this. That's all deleted out. They just get that nice, streamlined
Clean,
listener experience.
smooth.
But when we do it live,
We'll do it live.
you don't never know
do it
what's going to
live.
happen.
Do it live.
We do it live.
Fuck it,
So
we'll do it live.
that's right. So great to have you here
Hey,
on a. Yep, go ahead.
Do you take my swearing out in the podcast?
No, I mean it's the internet. I don't know if you knew this or not, but there still appears to be a free porno on the internet. So swearing is okay. As soon as they wipe the internet of porn, then I might have to talk about the swearing. But since we're not on the radio, F-bombs, let's go. That's what I say.
All right.
I wanted to start in a different place. However, events over the last 24 hours are forcing me to start in a completely different space, which is the passing of John Brotherton. And I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with him. I'm certainly falling into the category where the name's familiar, but I couldn't sit here and tell you in-depth things like maybe I could on some other folks. So how does the news strike you, and are there any anecdotes or stories that you would care to share as we lead off the segment?
I think, for those who weren't familiar with John, the most simple thing is he had an incredible barbecue joint, which is still around, obviously, called Brotherton's Black Iron Barbecue in Pflugerville, just north of Austin. But here's the deal with John. John was one of the pivotal cookers at Brisket Camp. He's the one who made the things happen behind the scenes. He was known for never wearing pants, always wearing shorts, no matter what the weather or how cold or hot. He was probably that glue that holds the barbecue community together. He seemed to be everywhere at once. He would never say no to somebody, particularly in need. Very generous with his time, his information. A lot of people in barbecue, like employees, would end up at Brotherton's just because it was like this safe home where they were respected as employees. And he was just an all-around good guy. And he also had a line of sauces called Burnt Ends sauce, as in hot barbecue sauces. And I was actually at Camp Brisket last week, which was he had his episode the morning that we all drove to College Station. So we all knew that something was up. And unfortunately he was in a medically induced coma and never made it out. And they announced his passing just yesterday. So there's a lot of, I think that the measure of someone's impact on other people's lives, the amount that you can talk about them and that other people talk about them, and the entire Texas barbecue scene, not just restaurants, people, not just barbecue people, just people touched, and he touched a lot of lives. And I think that any one of us could be lucky to have that kind of influence on a fraction of as many people as John helped. So he certainly leaves behind a legacy.
Certainly appreciate your insight on that. Now, let's start off the segment the way I was going to start off the segment, which is how we do it. The YouTube poll question of the week. Maybe you don't give a shit about this. Who do you think was the biggest loser of Super Wild Card Weekend? The Miami Dolphins, the Dallas Cowboys, or the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, that's a great question, Greg, and I'm glad you asked it. Given that I am married to a Green Bay Packer fan, I'm going to say that the Cowboys were big fat losers.
Yeah.
Is that right?
73% of the voting public are saying Dallas was the biggest loser of the
Embarrassing.
weekend. It was a smoke job of seismic proportion with a team in Green Bay that I think is maybe a year ahead of schedule. And to put that kind of a beatdown away from their home is really remarkable one we'll be talking about for years. I still contend that the Eagles were the bigger flop. They were 10-1. They lost 6 out of the last 7 games. This was, as I told everybody in the first hour, a Browns-esque type flop. This is something we would do in Cleveland.
Was it not sad to see Kelsey go out on that
Yes.
angle?
Yeah, tremendously sad. I would have rather seen him win one game just to get off the schneid and then get bounced in the second round. I mean, this is a team that was in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's blow the whole thing up. That's Philly fan for you. Nevertheless, you were right. 73% is where the voting public is right now. And we'll see if you can keep that winning way as we inch towards
I'm glad
the
they
end
agree
of
with
the show.
me.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked for the question this week, Greg.
I almost had Andrew Zimmern on before you. And I appreciate the fact that you gave up your normal segment to give space to him, but it didn't work out. But we're going to try and rebook it for next month. How does that relationship come together for you?
Well, that's a great question, Greg, and I'd like to answer it.
Great. Can you?
It's actually really cool. Andrew is the producer of my forthcoming TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a production company called Intuitive Content. And I met him in Minneapolis last year. And so, yeah, I got to meet him. And I remember watching Bizarre Foods as a teen/young adult in Australia. And so it was really cool getting to meet him and sit in his office and pet his dogs who walk all over you whenever you're hanging out with him in his office. And he's got a studio in there too, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so it's weird to go to immediate 1 degree of separation with someone who you grew up watching on TV.
You were there to talk business, or you just happened to be there, you run into him, and now you're talking? And
we were talking business. So
yeah.
I was visiting the offices because we were filming a episode up there. And they're like, Andrew wants to meet you. Come say hi. So I went and said hi to Andrew, which is pretty cool.
Did we talk about how you got the show? Like, how did you pitch it? Or was it pitched to you?
Someone pitched it for me. So they knew about me and they just pitched. I have to be careful. I can't say too much yet, but I know you want that Barbecue Central exclusive, even if you have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands. But they basically, this is what's really weird about it, right? They basically just pitched to the network that it's going to appear on a 1-paragraph. This is the show. This is the woman who should do the show. She's cool. She's into meat. She's from Australia. She's a hardcore carnivore, blah, 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 blah. And that was it. There was no framework. And they were like, fuck yeah, light it up. 10 episodes. She sounds great.
Wow.
That's unheard of. And I couldn't believe it. I just, every I'm being scammed, hair in my body was standing up. And then when I found out it was Andrew's production company, I was like, okay, well, I know he's legit, right?
Who's pitching this? Who's pitching you?
They're his company.
Yeah,
I guess I took a. I don't remember this.
Is somebody like, hey, we're going to throw you out as a potential show option, or are you blind and this thing's locked up? And they're like, oh, hey, by the way, you interested in doing this TV show that we just locked up for you? And you had some radar, or no?
They say that I had a meeting with them a couple of years in advance, previously that I don't remember.
Uh-huh.
But I don't really care at this stage, quite frankly.
Yeah. If you didn't get a TV show, would that be a great regret of your career?
Not really, because if I didn't get a show, it wouldn't be the kind of show that I wanted to do. And I think that even now, you have to be careful about how you represent yourself in whichever avenue that is. I wouldn't do a book now just for the sake of doing a second book. I've written a pitch for a second book, and I've had people say it's pretty good, but it's like a meat book first and a grilling book second. And what we want out of you is a grilling book first and a meat book second. And it's kind of like, oh, why? So we can have yet another grilling book with the same bullshit recipes that comes out every time a year.
Yeah.
But you never know. Maybe I'll put out a grilling book next year. I mean, I do like grilling. So there's that.
Is there money in books?
Yeah, I think there is. It depends. It depends on the deal you've got. It depends on the fine print of the deal. Do you have to pay for your own photography? You know, what your percentage rate is, the international edition deals and all that kind of stuff. More so, I think it's like there's no money in TV, or there's not great money in TV. The idea is that, you know, it's the exposure. And the fact, honestly, like, you know, even now getting to sit here saying like, oh, I have a TV show coming out gives you immediate clout, especially in a world right now where anyone can really be self-made on social media.
We didn't talk about it last time you were on the show, but you have a new fan in me. With what? Rhymes with Hardcore Carnivore Chili Kit. Holy crap.
I was so nervous.
The long, dirty secret here is, in this house, we have talked about where's the chili recipe, like, for years. I think my mom sent me one. It's in my literal paper recipe book that I keep on top of the refrigerator.
Oh.
We just never make it. I can't even tell you why. We don't use my mom's recipe. So then
it's a multi-step, like long as in.
Well, my mom's like old school cook, so there's no recipe. So now she's got to go off of what she thinks it is. So I mean, who knows if it would even be? Yeah, but that's how she rolls, you know. So it's always like, Mom, give me the recipe. Well, you know, I don't have a recipe, so whatever. Here's the chili kit. Okay, go online, buy it. Shows a couple days later, and man, this is exactly what I'm looking for. About as little effort as I have to put in to end up getting what is a really great chili. Certainly, I'm no chili expert, but I know what I think to taste.
You know
like
what you
good chili,
like,
right? Yeah, I know what I like.
What you like, sure.
And I like this, so it's like undo the packet, brown some ground beef, some onions, add some beef stock and tomato paste, and away you go. A couple hours later, you have a nice, what I prefer in consistency chili that the next day doubles up and goes on hot dogs for chili dogs, and it's great on there too. So congratulations, it's great. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass.
I had it for dinner tonight. No, I get high on the supply. You know, like it's I think 28 degrees here right now.
Yeah, it's cold everywhere.
Which is cold, yeah, sure, but it's Texas. Like, we're not ready for it.
No doubt.
Can I ask you, have you seen the internet today? Do you know what happened with Hardcore Carnivore today?
By the way, I don't know if you knew it or not, Jess. You've released a new Cajun rub.
Hey!
Look at you. Now, I can't show it here, but don't you have one that you can hold up?
Do you know what? I do. It's in the other room. I didn't even think about it. Yours, I know, I'm an idiot. Yours is currently somewhere in a padded envelope.
Great.
On its way to you. We do try and make sure that Greg Rempe has all of the breaking news seasonings.
Yes.
We released a Cajun rub, but I will say about the chili, because I shouldn't just discount that, it is only limited edition. So once we sell out of this batch, it doesn't come back again till the weather gets cold. So if you like it,
okay, so I got to get more.
You should probably stock up, because here it stops getting cold by like March. But for you, what?
June,
April? I'm sure
it can be June,
May,
depending on how the wind blows. So
wow,
why Cajun rub?
Great question. You're really good at those questions.
Thank you.
If no one ever tells you. Here's the deal with that. For me, it was, we have a really great following of loyal fans who seem to like my version of the way things taste. I could say it's mine. I still develop all the recipes myself, and I basically make rubs the way I think that they should taste. So when I was developing our taco and fajita seasoning, Tex-Mex, I'm like, this is what I think it should taste like, with all of the, everyone has an idea of what they want it to be. This is what I think the chili should taste like, etc. And the deal, Cajun is one of those seasonings where it's called for a lot in recipes, like if you're making gumbo, if you're making jambalaya, a teaspoon of Cajun seasoning. And so it occurred to me that I really wanted to do my version of what I think Cajun seasoning should taste like. I've spent a lot of time in Louisiana, got a lot of friends there. It wasn't just, I want to tackle that particular flavor. I have a deep understanding of the food there as well. And I sent a bunch of bottles to my friends there, because I'm like, if people in Louisiana don't like this before I release it, then I'm fucked. Like
Yep.
that's kind of a problem. So literally, even though I was happy with it, I wanted to get their blessing, and thankfully they weren't just being nice. So they actually like it.
I know it's only launched a little bit earlier today, but what's
Yeah.
reception been like into the market?
It's been great. I'm so grateful for our customers and our fans. They are always excited to see something new for us, and they jump on it. Like it's an instant response, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And then it's like a wave. So the first wave is seeing how many people actually place their orders, and the second is sort of waiting that week or two to actually then see photos coming in of people using it and getting real feedback about it. So it's a two-part enjoyment situation.
I had Mike Luce on first hour. He owns a barbecue supply store in the great metropolitan area of Greendale, Wisconsin. And I said, how easy is it to get talent up there to help move product? What's it take to have somebody like call you up and say, hey, would you come to my supply store to do an appearance? Or like, is that ROI for you? Is that a pretty big push for you or not really?
It is, and I wish it wasn't. Because sometimes it can give the appearance that you think you're above it, and that's certainly not the case. You know, I cut my teeth on, small regional appearances at barbecue stores, just giving people classes, getting to meet them one-on-one, and like anyone who grows a business, it reaches the stage. You mentioned ROI, and it's not so much about straight dollars, but if I leave where I'm at, or if I leave filming, or if I leave my desk, or if I leave something, there's a million things that don't get done. And so to touch 20 people at a class, you have to ask yourself, like, is that the best use of my time? Which is not just about dollars. And I wish it weren't that way. Especially with the hardest thing I think about those smaller locations is the travel time, because it's not merely a day. It's often 2 to 3 days by the time you do multiple flights to get there, and maybe you're driving as well. So I do wish there was an easy way to connect, because I think that getting in touch with core barbecue fans is still super important, but it's super difficult. Like it is. And I think it's nearly the natural circle of things, right? Like it leaves opportunity for the next person to come up who's maybe starting out and in a position where talking to 20 people is hugely influential for them.
Well, we've blown right through the segment.
Oh, fuck.
But wait. We have to play the game Sweeping the Nation, which is better, featuring our pal Jess Pryles. Before we play tonight, Jess, a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Jess Pryles, founder of Hardcore Carnivore, Australian by birth, now living in Texas, and I have better taste in music than Greg.
Wow. It's always new.
Wow.
With you. It's always
Throw
new.
down.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
Here we go.
Oh, I'm nervous.
I've actually
Wait, I'm gonna
I've added a little bit, like 3 or 4 in a row at least.
Shit,
and
you're
I've
not gonna let me get
added
this one.
I've added a little extra to the show tonight for the game.
Okay.
Between the two, which is the better Def Leppard song? To help you out, is it the 1983 mega smash hit off the album Pyromania, Photograph, which sounds like this? Wait. What the fuck? Where'd they go?
It's quieter than I remember.
Yeah. All right. Now, this is very embarrassing. That sounds like this? Or is it the 1987 mega smash hit off the album Hysteria, Pour Some Sugar on Me? So, we are in the middle of perhaps the most difficult decision ever. Photograph or Pour Some Sugar on Me. Which one is it?
It's actually a really simple one for me, Greg. But I just wanted to pause for dramatic effect. It's
very good.
The correct answer is pour some sugar on me.
Final answer?
Lock it in.
To continue a win streak that has never been seen before, she says pour some sugar on me. And of course, the answer is photograph.
Oh, come on. You're full of shit.
No, I mean, I wish I had the...
Let me ask you a question. How many times have you heard photograph played at a strip club? You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you a question. How many times do you think I've been to a strip club?
You've never been to a strip club?
Like one time.
Not even in your younger days?
I mean, I'm a money,
You don't know that-
I'm an ROI kind of guy. So like, what am I going to spend money for on that? That's
not
a waste.
You're not. No. So you've got to listen. Chris and I talked about. I know you've got to get rid of me. Chris and I talked about that this week, where he's like, there was a place in College Station that used to do free prime rib lunches one Friday of every month, and boy, did they lose money on him because he was literally there for the free meal because he's too cheap to spend money on strippers. But the point is, if you haven't eaten a questionable shrimp at a buffet at a strip club, have you ever really lived?
Talking to a meat scientist here, I can't even believe we're even talking about this. This is mind-blowing to me. I can't even begin to imagine there would be a scenario in my life that I would go into a strip bar to eat food. Like never.
I need
Holy
comments.
shit.
I need
Holy
to see what the people think here. I can't be alone here.
No, I mean, well, I don't know what they're going to say about the strip bar. I mean, that just doesn't make any financial sense to me, and I'm never, ever, ever eating food in the strip bar. However, this, to me, this is it. This is it. You have this nonsense. Get rid of that. I don't want to hear that.
Forget.
I don't want
it's
it.
not the
I don't want it.
intro.
But it's part of the
not
song.
The intro. No, this. It's that right there.
No, it's not. This
It's
song
that.
just comes right in.
You gotta
This song
build,
lingers in. Lingers.
That's okay. It's foreplay.
I'm going to go on. Okay, hold on. I almost said something there that I didn't mean to say.
You can if
Look.
you need to.
Unfortunately, the winning streak stops at 4. The good news is, in 3 months' time, we will reconvene where maybe we'll have another stab at best Def Leppard songs. But the bottom line is I'm right and you're wrong this time around.
Your election equipment is off. Your voting equipment is faulty.
We're not bringing in any elections here. Here's the bottom line. There's new products out. There's the chili kit.
Yes.
The Cajun rub just announced today.
Cajun rub. We have new nitrile gloves.
Carnivore.com is the place to go. New nitrile gloves to protect your hands and not get all the ickiness. Or if you want recipes, JessPriles.com for all the ways to help ramp your cooking game up to top knowledge. Just appreciate the time tonight, and we will see you in April, I think.
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's go with it.
Thanks,
Safe.
guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Just Priles right there. All right, so that's Just Priles. Again, the website, hardcorecarnivore.com, and for all of the recipes, JessPriles.com. Listen up, gang. Our friends at Big Papa Smokers have something special for you, listeners of the show. Whether you're a seasoned pitmaster or a grilling newbie, Big Papa Smokers offering an unheard of deal. What is that? If you use promo code REMPE, REMPE, at checkout, you'll get $10 off your next $50 purchase of rubs, sauces, or accessories. Imagine the possibilities. Evaluate your ribs with Big Papa's Sweet Money or Sweet Money Hot. Get Big Papa's Desert Gold on your chicken, or better yet, pick up Big Papa's Double Secret and add it to your steak. Head on over to BigPapaSmokers.com and start shopping today and start saving today when you use promo code REMPE at checkout. REMPE. Get you $10 off your next $50 or more on the order. Don't forget to check out Big Papa's full line of recipes at cookingwithbigpapa.com. And, of course, follow them on all social media platforms for amazing recipes. We are back. Stick
You're
around.
listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Rimpey.
Hey, we thank Jess Pryles for joining us last segment. Once again, it's hardcorecarnivore.com for all the products, and then jesspryles.com for any recipes or cooking tips, videos, things like that. 2 different online environments for you to visit. Well, with the dropping of Andrew and then Jess coming in to fill in Andrew, I'm wondering how we close the show. Well, wait a second. There's somebody at the door. Who could it possibly be? It's first timer to the show, Barry Enderwick. Barry.
Hey.
How did you find yourself into this show? We thought we were going to have Jess Pryles in your place, but she moved up, and maybe it was kismet. You just knew to knock on the door and come on in.
You know what? She should move up. I've actually used her recipes a few times, so much respect.
All right. Well, glad that you are a fan of Hardcore Carnivore, and great that we missed you last week and you were able to fill in this week. Went a little long with Jess with the game, but what can I tell?
Yeah.
So let's start off with 2 game questions for a Barry. Number 1, of course, is the YouTube poll question of the week, which is this. Who was the biggest loser of Wild Card Weekend, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, or the Eagles?
You know, I much respect and love to my friends in Philadelphia, but the Eagles, like they had such an amazing run, and they've just imploded. And frankly, I'm surprised by that. You know, as a 49er fan, I'm okay with it, but at the same time, I have a lot of sympathy for my friends in Philadelphia for sure.
All right. Well, you are one of the few. I'm with you, by the way, saying Eagles collapse was atrocious, and of course, the biggest one of Wild Card Weekend. 12% of the voting public is agreeing with us, Barry, that the Eagles are the biggest one. Running away with it in what we would call a boat race is Dallas at 73%. They think Green Bay coming in and slapping them around a young team and, you know, young everything at home, by the way, is a far worse crime than what happened with the Eagles. I disagree.
Is it? Yeah, I think that's a good second. But no, I think the Eagles collapse. If you look at the story arc of the season, it's mind-blowing.
The better Def Leppard song, Photograph or Pour Some Sugar on Me? Photograph. Wow.
Photograph.
All right, look at you.
Yeah.
I think I found my long-lost triplet, Barry Enderwick.
Don't get me wrong. Pour Some Sugar on Me, I get it. It's
Great
popular. It had some good hooks on it, but it felt like it was trying really hard, whereas Photograph felt like it was like they were just rocking.
Third question that I didn't see coming, but I'm just thinking of it. Have you ever eaten food in a strip club?
No.
Who's doing that?
I don't know. You know, I worked at a place in the 90s, early 90s that had a strip club, and it used to advertise free lunch, and it was just like, what? What? No, that's not worth the price of admission right there.
Of course it's free lunch. Who's going to spend money on lunch at a strip club? Number 1. And then who knows what question number 2 is. But wow, so we're agreeing on everything here tonight, Barry, which I certainly appreciate. I like you better than Jess. I'm going to leave it at that. For the folks that aren't familiar, Barry Enderwick is running a website and an Instagram channel called The Sandwiches of History, which is an absolute fun delight to watch on Instagram, seeing all these sandwiches that you're coming up with. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of that and what you're trying, what you like, blah, 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 quick background on the history of Barry, a self-professed college dropout. What happened after that?
Well, dropout is making it sound like I made the choice. They actually made the choice for me.
Oh, you were invited not to come back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just, I probably should have taken some time, gone to a community college, figured out some area of focus, and then gone to college. Instead, I wasted 3 years, declared a major, and then got kicked out a semester later. But that's okay. I'm a lifelong learner. I keep trying new things. I keep trying to figure out what I'm interested in. And I got into graphic design and started doing that for a while, and then got hired at this startup called Netflix back in 2001.
Wow.
As the graphic designer in the marketing department. The company was only about 75 people. And then just was able to learn and grow while I was at Netflix until 2012, and left there, form a consultancy, and I don't know, fast forward, Sandwiches of History, I think it was 2018 is when I started that.
I'm known for asking this question. I'm not looking for anything specific, but when you leave Netflix, are you financially independent at this point where you can start to pursue other projects, or is it like anybody leaving a 9 to 5, or you got to do something else?
Well, it's one of those things where, like, if I had held on to my original stock options until 2016, I would have FU money, but I do not have that. I did well, though. I did well. I was able to get some financial security and get some assets, like a house and cars and things like that. So I did okay. I did pretty good. But who could have seen Netflix stock going to $600? That was just because I started when it was pre-IPO, so it wasn't even publicly traded. So the idea that it would ever go to $600 is just insane. So I did good.
Is the consultancy then the day job, and you're doing the sandwich stuff and then some of those other online properties just for fun?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm making a little bit of money with Sandwiches of History, and I would love to make that into a thing, but it's kind of a slow going. So,
growing up, Barry, are you a kid who ate an inordinate amount of Sandos, or just the normal?
I would say a normal amount. I mean, I did eat things like peanut butter and dill pickle sandwiches, but I did not eat a lot of sandwiches. They're good.
How does producing the history of sandwiches even get on your radar? Where does the concept come?
So I love to cook. I love to try new flavors. I try to try new cuisines, try different things. And a friend of mine sent me the PDF, a PDF of this thing called the Up-to-Date Sandwich Book of 1909. And which was hilarious to me, because as soon as you publish a sandwich book, it's out of date. But anyway, I thought, well, this would be kind of fun. Let's see what's in here. And some of the sandwiches are just ridiculous. Like, they shouldn't have been published as a sandwich, like the dairy sandwich, where it's 2 slices of Swiss cheese that you butter and slap together. There's no bread.
Oh,
that's the sandwich. Yeah. So to me, it was like, well, this would be kind of fun to do these sandwiches, try them, and just put it on social media and see what's what.
So if somebody was trying to pick the Sandwiches of History up as a television show, evidently Jess Pryles has a connection to a production company run by Andrew Zimmern, so maybe we have something here that's gold in waiting. What's the elevator pitch of Sandwiches of History?
You know what? I don't know. I've worked with 2 TV production companies to try and pitch Sandwiches of History, and both companies have gotten like, nah. And I think part of the problem is trying to figure out how it goes from something that's a social media thing that's a few minutes long to something that's 22 minutes long, right? And they just can't envision it, or they're burned out on cooking or any sort of food shows, or everyone's got their own thing going on. Every company, Hulu, Netflix, whatever agenda they're pursuing. And so far, Sandwiches of History has just not landed.
So what I'm hearing is all of these people saying no haven't given the right thought to how they can make money with it, or they don't think they can make money with it, and so they're passing. I think that's a shame, number one. Easily, I can see this as 22 to 25 minutes, 2 to 3 sandwiches. You do the deep dive on all of them, and then each individual segment culminating in kind of what you're doing in your house right now, where you're making it and testing it, plussing it up, and all this stuff. This is an easy sell. I think people were watching it all the time.
It's funny. I would think so too, and I get a lot of encouragement from folks who follow me on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, but the execs are not buying it.
As I go through your videos, to me, it appears the food really sucked between 1880s and the mid-1970s, at least when it comes to sandwiches. Agree or disagree?
Most of it did. Most of it is pretty much like, we've got this, we got this. There you go. There's your sandwich. A lot of it was grinding meat into paste with other things to make the meat last longer. So, I get a lot of questions like, why don't they just use slices of whatever? And it's like, well, when you don't have a lot of money and you've got this hunk of meat, if you mix it with a bunch of other stuff, you can actually make more sandwiches. So, and you can make that hunk of meat last longer. But yeah, it's, there's some questionable sandwiches in that era for sure.
Almost a month ago or so, you make something called a Christmas sandwich. Seemed pretty indifferent about it until what you call plus up. So you work the original recipe, and then at the end, you look at it and go, well, maybe it would be better if we added X, Y, or Z. Those are your plus ups. It's kind of a catchphrase that you have. So you seem indifferent about the sandwich. Originally, you plus it up with some of your own ingredients. The sandwich is from Dixon, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who the city's most famous resident is by chance?
Oh boy, this feels like I gotcha. No, I do not.
You ever heard of Ronald Reagan?
Oh, is that Bob Reagan's brother?
Yes, Bob Reagan. You know Bob Reagan. Yeah, Ronald Reagan, his brother, of course. So that's Dixon, Illinois' most famous resident. In fact, in a movie, he was doing some monologue, and he was supposed to say some other city, and he said, no, I want to rewrite the script. And I want to, instead of saying X city, I want to say Dixon, Illinois. And he says it in the movie, and it was a whole big thing in Dixon. Do you know who the city's most infamous resident was by chance?
Oh, good Lord. John Wayne Gacy. I have no idea.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that. Have you ever heard of the name Rita Crundwell? No? Rita Crundwell was the city of Dixon's comptroller, which I think has to do with money. That might be a fancy Midwestern term for controller. She embezzled $53.7 million over a 20-year period to do what? Fund her fascination and evidently addiction of quarter horse showing. So not racing, but doing show. She embezzled almost $54 million. Eventually, she's found out and she's brought to justice. She's in jail now. Really not.
That's amazing.
Not sorry at all. And can you imagine this lady sitting in meetings week after week with people pulling their hair out going, where is all the fucking money going? We can't pave the roads. We're going to lay off 3 more police officers. We can't buy a new fire truck. And here she has all the money. I don't know. I can't possibly know where anything is going anymore.
She had all the quarter horses. That was
no doubt. She had, believe me.
That is amazing. I thought I was swinging for the fences with John Wayne Gacy, but
somebody way under the radar
for quarter horses.
Way under the radar. Now, in the quarter horse world, everybody knew Rita Crundwell because, of course, she's winning everything, and she had hundreds and hundreds of horses and ranches and acreage and all this other stuff. So, fun fact to throw in the next version of the Christmas sandwich next year. Do you have a process, Barry, of what sandwiches you're picking out of the old cookbooks and then trying in your video?
So I tried to do across the efficiency of not wasting ingredients with switching up years and sandwiches. So I don't want to repeat. I don't want to do a sardine sandwich on Monday and another one on Tuesday, even if they're from different years. But I also don't want to do a sandwich from 1936 Monday and Tuesday as well. So it's kind of just like keeping it kind of interesting, both for myself and for everyone who's watching. Like, they don't want to see repetitive things like, we're going to do all sardine sandwiches until I use up this tin. So I try to kind of mix it up. I do shoot sometimes multiple episodes to take it to try and maximize the utility of that ingredient, but they won't post, for another week or two. So
you appear to have a second person running the camera, but as I was diving through the videos, you have some other type of contraption. What do you use to help follow you around?
I wish it's in the other room right now, but it's It's basically this thing that sits on a circular disc and has a motion tracking device at the bottom of it, and it holds my iPhone, and it just follows me left to right, and that's it. And it costs like $40. I bought it off TikTok.
Sorry.
Oh, here comes the rock.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's all right. So yeah, no, it's just me. It's a iPhone DSLR. Yeah.
This is a barbecue show and a grilling show, although not all the time. I've noticed no barbecue sandwiches yet, or have you been able to sneak some barbecue sandwiches in that I just haven't uncovered yet?
So there was one that I did, the just grabbed by the brisket guys in Texas did that I wanted to try, which was basically.
By the way, they're in the instant chat right now watching you. Believe it or not. Yeah.
Hey guys.
How about that?
And they sent me some of the rub. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that. But yeah, basically you score the bologna, rub it with mustard, rub it with their spices, and then smoke it, and then fry it, slices of it, and make a sandwich. And it was delicious. Now the other one that I've done, that's a barbecue sandwich. We'll put air quotes around that because it was from 1941's 500 Tasty Sandwiches. It basically took already cooked meat and warmed it up in a barbecue sauce that you quickly made. The surprising thing was it was pretty tasty. It was not like an award-winning barbecue sauce. It was not super complex, but it was pretty good.
You ever heard of something called a gooey sandwich?
No.
So you seem to be a pretty, what I would call, adventurous eater, at least a trier of sandwiches. This is something that I've never eaten it in my life, but I grew up around it. When we would go to my my mom's side's house for Christmas, inevitably there would be a completely overdone pot roast, and then that pot roast turned into this gooey sandwich. So they had a hand grinder that you would clamp to the cabinet or the countertop. They'd put the pot roast through it and they grind it in, and then they would throw Miracle Whip, not mayo, but Miracle Whip on purpose, which I can't believe, and then grated carrots. This thing looked like a disaster, and they smacked it on white bread, and my mom and my two aunts and my grandmother sucked these sandwiches down like they were going out of style. And every year, and I'm thinking to myself, is this the year that it's going to look appetizing to me and I'm going to try it? No. And then, eventually everybody's dying off, and, hopefully the gooey sandwiches is dying off too. But I never got the balls to actually want to attempt to taste it. Mostly because I would have to ruin a perfectly good pot roast first, which is like main ingredient number one. Have you ever had anything that revolves around those ingredients?
Not those specific ingredients. And to be, for the record, I would try that. It sounds like it would look like what it would look like coming back up.
Orange.
But, I'd try it. I'd try it at least. I mean, you're talking to a guy who ate the yeast sandwich, which is basically a compressed yeast cake that was moistened with Worcestershire sauce and between buttered bread, and it was not enjoyable.
I mean, that was a mind-blowing sandwich. Like that's the one that told me I got to get in touch with Barry and see if he would even have any interest in coming on the show to talk about sandwiches. Where you're taking yeast and rehydrating it into a paste and putting it between buttered white bread, and that's your sandwich. Like, what kind of a world are we living in where that was something?
The crazy thing is, okay, so I've learned a little bit of history about how that came to exist. And apparently in, I think, the 1920s, the Fleischmann's Yeast Company decided they wanted to sell more yeast. So they hooked up with a marketing firm, and they started a campaign saying, eat more yeast for health. And it took off. And people actually did this for like 8 years until everyone, their gastrointestinal tract rebelled or whatever. But for a while there, eating yeast was the thing. And the sandwich was in that, when the sandwich was published, is right smack dab in that.
Wow.
It's mind-blowing.
Incredible sandwich. Each year, as the calendar draws to a close, a lot of people are out with their best of lists. They're popping up all over the place. Best 3 sandwiches that you had in 2023 and worst 3 sandwiches that you had in 2023.
Oh my God. My mind is a steel sieve. So I don't know if I'm able to actually answer this. I did do top
one
10.
best or worst. The ones.
Oh man. I'd have to actually go back and check tape, to be honest with you. Like I do a sandwich every single day, right? And so for me, like to find out what sandwiches were the worst and were the best, I had to go to my spreadsheet
Yeah.
in order to do that year-end review because I could not remember which ones are the worst. Oh man,
You're what we call when we vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame. You would fall into the realm of compiler, right? So you're just lots and lots and lots of content, and through the sheer length of your not season, but through the sheer length of your career, you've compiled stats that you think should be putting you into the Baseball Hall of Fame or whatever Hall of Fame. So you're just compiling so many sandwiches, it's hard to know which one sits atop.
Yeah, it really is. It's the reason why I started this spreadsheet is to start tracking this stuff. Like, what is the sandwich? What year was it made? What did I plus it up with? Would I make it again? Did I what was the rating pre plus up? What was the rating post plus up? Because there's just no way I'm going to keep track of that. And so, I'll have to get back to you on the best and worst.
We'll set up another segment with you to review some videos, sandwiches, and then we'll get the best of 2023, the worst of 2023. Evidently, my mom. Yeah, we'll check that. My mom is watching, thank goodness. So number one, she says that those sandwiches were the best. Of course, what's she going to say? Number two, she's asking about if you've ever had a lard and sugar sandwich.
I have not.
I'm guessing that's
sounds,
like Crisco with sugar, which I think is icing in a lot of ways, right?
I think that's actual pig fat. I think that's lard with sugar is what she's talking about, which sounds interesting.
I hope she's never had that. And if she has, I'm surprised she's still around. Lard and sugar sandwich. I've never heard of that. I don't know if she's just going through old cookbooks herself or what.
I will say this, that there's an era, and one of the things I do on Sandwiches of History is I try to do sandwiches of our history, which is basically doing sandwiches that people send in that they're like, my grandpa used to make this, or my grandma used to make this. And I want to capture these sandwiches that aren't in any cookbooks, but are definitely out there that people have done. And there's a grandma, grandpa section or kind of like style of sandwich, which was very much informed by the Great Depression, which is like pickle, peanut butter, and red onion. It doesn't really sound like something you would ever put together, but that's what they had. That's what they put together, and they loved it for the rest of their lives. So I try to capture those and try those out as well. Some are good, some are less good.
I shudder to think that my sweet grandmother, God rest her soul, would make a lard and sugar sandwich. However, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to vet this out. If this is a real recipe, I'm going to get in contact with you and plead secretly, as I'm doing publicly, for you to try a lard and sugar sandwich on the Sandwiches of History. I'll try and do some background on it.
Stop drilling, you hit oil. Stop drilling, you hit oil. I'll do it. Yeah.
Now, this also happens to be the same lady, my grandmother, who ate what I call bread cereal. White bread, hand chunked into a bowl, milk on top, and she ate it like cereal. Bread cereal. You ever heard of that?
It's filling. I've not heard of that, but it's filling. And that very much sounds like a Depression era.
I was going to say, Depression.
This is what we got.
How you fucked with us. My grandmother's eating bread cereal by choice. Oh, my God. So, all right.
But that's just it. Like, they ate it because they had to, and then it became like, I will always cherish this because of the hardship that I went through. So,
all right.
It's an interesting thing.
This is craziness. I appreciate your insight here and for you dropping by after we missed you last week. I'll do my homework and jump in with some of the lard and sugar stuff. Maybe that's on an upcoming Sandwiches of History. And in the meantime, everybody go to sandwichesofhistory.com. Follow Barry over on Instagram as well, where you can see his daily postings of videos from way back when. You should tell everybody old that you know about it, because maybe this will bring back nostalgia for them as they're, seeing sandwiches from 1910 and 1909. I think today, or one of the ones I just watched today was like 1909. I mean, it's crazy. So you're doing God's work, no doubt about it, making sure these sandwiches live on. It's Barry Enderwick. Barry, appreciate the time, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much. That was a lot of fun. Thanks.
Barry Enderwick right there. Oh, my mom weighing in right now. Never had it at Grandma's. Oh, wait. What did she say? Never had it, and Grandma's poor neighbors ate them. Oh. Sorry for your poor neighbors, Grandma. Insane.
Let's get back to a guy who has more experience.
Whoa. Let's make sure that we do the right business here. Great interview with Barry. Hope you liked that. Lined them up. As Andrew fell out yesterday, I immediately got in touch with Barry and said, I know it's the last minute. Don't know if you can do this. And we had a little fun with the door knocks, of course, because that's my new favorite thing. Shout out to Howard Stearns. He is the man. Barry Enderwick is sandwichesofhistory.com. Socially, Sandwiches of History, all spelled out. And if you want the recipe for the lard and sugar sandwich, hit me up on email, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Lard and sugar. I don't even know what to say about that. Before we close the show this evening, let me talk to you about my good friends at JRE Tobacco and the makers of the Aladino brand of cigars. Just in, the 4x40 Petite Corona of the Corojos. Now, different than the Corojo Reserva line. The Reserva is a little bit more especial or special. This is the straight Corojo that they offer through their brand offering. What I found here is the Petite Corona. For me, 35, potentially 40-minute drive to work from my house into the office. And you get into the Robusto size, so that's typically 5-inch by 50, 52, 54 ring gauge, and certainly could never do a Toro. I would have way too much left over. Petite Corona, that is like the perfect commute size for anybody that's over a half an hour. Can take up most of the cigar, great flavor. The burn is great. Of course, you come to know that through any of the Aladino products that are out there right now. So I would recommend, if you're finding that a Robusto or a Toro is just too much for the drive-in, the Aladino Petite Corojo, the Aladino Petite Corona with the Corojo brand is the one you want to take a look at. They have them all. Sumatra, Reserva, Corojo, the Aladino Classic. Find a shop near you by going to jretobacco.com and doing their retail locator. As always, samples available. Just hit me up. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
I'm still reeling from lard and sugar sandos. When times are tough, times are tough. If you think you got it bad, imagining by choice sucking down a lard and sugar sando in your face. Those are tough times. That's why they're called the greatest generation. Not because they're over there fighting world wars, because they're eating lard and sugar sandwiches by choice. Holy moly. All the way back in the first hour, it was first-timer Mike Luce from Barbecue Supply Company in Greendale, Wisconsin. Great insight from Mike. We'd love to have him on again soon. Then we had Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com talking a lot about the Weber releases over at CES, talking about CES as a place to go to release grills going forward. The GE Indoor Smoker and the Sear Grills Perfecta or Perfecto. Again, trying to work on setting up an interview with the CEO of that company, but there's going to be some time zone differences there. Maybe travels to the States. Who knows? We'll see. Second hour, Jess Pryles stopped by for a great visit, an extended visit at that, which was great. And then, in the bullpen, Barry Enderwick. Missing last week, circling back in this week. Great to have him. Wonderful conversation. Lots of great insight. So next time we have him on, we'll talk about some of his most recent sandwich reviews, and then we will also learn what the 2023 best and worst sandwich was of the year. Big show planned for you next week. We're already at week 4. What does that mean? Embedded correspondent segment time, plus a whole bunch of other great stuff coming on. So, how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, it's your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
It's Sam the Cooking Guy, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Some call him a fool, some even call him a douchebag. But I say Greg Rempe is the greatest thing to happen to barbecue since cavemen.